All right, on this episode, we're going to do a breakdown on all the top 16 battles on Chelsea's journey all the way to the podium at FD Orlando. My name is Reese Marin. I'm an instructor. I'm a spotter. I've been in this sport for over 2 decades now, and this is the breakdown. The breakdown is essentially a series where we're going to break down all the battles in FD that get talked about between each round, kind of dissecting where someone had an advantage, where someone could have used it in order to win, all the way through the battles that they have. All right, so we are going to be starting off the battles here in top 16 with Chelsea DeNofa against Chris Forsberg. Now, fun fact is that I am actually Chelsea's spotter. He reached out to me just after Atlanta and wanted to know if I wanted to come on board to be a spotter for Orlando and at this point the rest of the season. He's going to be going against Chris Forsberg, also from Pennsylvania. Forsberg is an absolute ripper. He was doing really, really good during practice, going into all the inner clips, very fluid. So we're going to see if we can go into this review, break down the entry here. Now I'm going to stop right here. Chelsea does a really good job getting into outside zone 1. You can see he's carrying a lot of speed, creating a good amount of space between him and Chris. Forsberg is coming in. You can see he's a little low on the bank. This is pretty much going to stay the same and consistent throughout the entire outer zone 1.
Giving himself maybe too much room here. DeNofa, big.
Now you can see going toward the end of outside zone 1, Chris is still not really closing that gap in. I think he did it, fix his line a little bit. Chelsea's locked in, ready to go.
Coming down into that first inside
going into inner clip. Very key part here, Chelsea did not hit inner clip 1. He gave himself just enough speed going outside onto the left, cleared it. Forsberg did what he needed to do, which was try to stay in, try to get into that line. Took out this inner clip. I don't really think that's going to affect him too much.
Forsberg had one of the best chase runs early.
Now you can see right here, Chris is doing an amazing job getting into the pocket. I'm not going to lie, at this point, I was a little worried because I was like, you know, this is where he can use momentum plus the throttle to really stick it to Chelsea. You're going to see they're both going to clear the clips. And at this point, Chelsea's just pretty much on throttle, has a lot more momentum, and just took off. All the way through on throttle until the end. All right, now we're going to switch it up. We're going to see how Chelsea does in the chase. Now, the wild thing is that I can tell you is that we actually lost communication. So Chelsea actually went into this battle blind. He really didn't know anything. We just kind of told him what he needed to do for the first run, and then we just kind of lost communication. Now we're going to move up a little bit here. Now Forsberg comes in, initiates. Now you can see here, Forsberg nowhere near us. So we're also going, because the judges are going to compare lead to leads and all that stuff as well too. So you can see here, Forsberg gets into the initiation. Chelsea's real close, but the big thing is that you can see the space is not as deep. Forsberg is just not as deep as Chelsea was. Chelsea obviously is taking advantage here, making sure he takes advantage and gets the proximity going. This is going to stay consistent through the whole way around. Really applying pressure. Chelsea's pretty much being Chelsea right now. Really good job. Forsberg doesn't hit that inner clip. I believe that was Chelsea that nicked it. Goes into the transition. Chelsea as well does a really good job of getting into the pocket, kind of like how Forsberg was doing when he was chasing him. Bumps him a little bit. I was kind of worried here because of the whole angle. But I ultimately think that when you look at the lead from lead, chase to chase, the fact that Chelsea's lead was phenomenal. And then you had Forsberg, who is a little bit coming off the wall, leaving some space. And then you on top, Chelsea is just completely glued to him the whole point. It was going to be pretty obvious that Chelsea was probably going to run away with this.
Mimic that angle is very difficult.
Go here.
Here we go. Slide him left for
Pretty sure this was unanimous. Yep, unanimous. Chelsea won this. Flat out just had way more advantage, way more going on there. Since Chelsea beat Forsberg, that puts Chelsea against James Deane, which is the battle all of us were talking about. We all wanted to see it. And now we get to have it right here, which I was really pumped about because both equal cars, amazing drivers. It was an absolute treat. going to see here, Chelsea's going to go into this. I pretty much just Chelsea. You got to lay down an amazing lead run. Now, you can see, we saw that James, let me see if I can go back just a little bit. I think now, although it's cool that James was able to have sparks come out, I think that kind of dragged the car a little bit, allowed there to be a little bit more space than I think James wanted. Chelsea is just on it. Outside zone 1, completely glued. You can see James is just a little bit low on that. And then you can start, the distance starts to increase a little bit there. Now going here, I know it seems like they're glued, but this is pretty substantial going into outside zone at the end of outside zone 1. Chelsea does a really good job of not hitting inner clip 1. Deane, you can see Deane maybe came off a throttle just a little bit here. Ate that clip. Transition comes in. Now at this point you can see Chelsea did a really good job of making sure he had momentum through inner clip 2. Stays on throttle. Momentum allows him to carry through outside zone 2. James at this point is trying to do his best to catch up. And Chelsea decides to give him a little number 1 words of encouragement. Now we're going to see them switch up. At this point, I'm going to tell you what I told Chelsea because I'm his spotter and I saw the lead that he did and I saw how glued Deane was. I said, listen, man, you're going to have to go 10 out of 10. Not crazy, but I told him, look, you're not going to you can't give him any space. And he's a straight up driver, so you can just go ahead and let it ride. Goes in. Chelsea absolutely dials in correctly here. You can see that glued. Deep. Deane is really deep into outside zone 1. Chelsea is pretty much just mirroring him the entire time. Wrapping all the way around because the angle is set in by Deane. It allows Chelsea to get right into the pocket and allow to ride the momentum and stick with Deane almost the entire way through outside zone 1. You can see Chelsea does a really good job of making sure he stays away from that inner clip 1. And you can see he's already timing this transition that's going to allow him to dive into Deane here. Right into the pocket here. Deane does a good job of lighting off. Both of them clear the inner clip 2. And at this point, I'm thinking, all right, maybe Deane's going to maybe pull away a little bit. You can see Deane pours on the angle, and at that point, it actually slows the car down a little bit for Deane and allows Chelsea to really get close. Big ups to James for allowing that to happen. Once I saw that happen, I pretty much said to myself, you know what? I'm pretty sure Chelsea has this in the bag. As soon as I saw outside zone 2 and the way James went about it and allowing Chelsea to get close, I figured all right, well, this is pretty much in the bag. And then we see here, Lantain advances one more time by Nishida. Goes forward, and I think the next person we're going to go against is Kazuya. So, Chelsea going against Kazuya, this was another driver that I was kind of worried about, and the reason for that is because Kazuya does a really fantastic job of keeping the fluidity and the car really balanced through the inner clips. We're going to see if we can see a little bit of that. Well, we're not. We're not going to see a little bit of that. We're going to see here in a second. Now you can see here Chelsea does a really good job of staying into outside zone 1, high up on the bank. Kazuya goes in, initiates about a half a car length down, allows the distance to start to create. I think what's happening is a lot of the drivers that are chasing Chelsea, they're diving in and then they have to wait a little bit for the car to fall back into the line that they want and then light off. You can see this has been a consistent thing, at least at this round. Now here you can see that both cars are going through inner clip 1. Now I can see where a lot of people were having an issue with Chelsea when they saw these lights go off, but this is just what I think is just using the brakes to just kind of pivot the car a little bit, set the car up. You can see here there's a hit. I think what Kazuya was trying to do, if I can back up just a little bit more, we can see it again. I think Kazuya was just trying to anticipate once you can see he's blinded by the smokes. I think Kazuya was like, all right, I'm going to try because Chelsea's fast. I'm going to try to see if I can just jump in there and beat him to it. And I think there was just a small miscalculation, and he just hit him on the side. That was actually a really hard hit. Really put the RTR team, put him to the limits when it came to repairing that car again. So you can see it again here. At this point, I don't think Kazuya can really see much. At this point, I think he's just like, I'm just going to take a guess. I'm going to time it. I'm going to cut through the smoke and hope that that doesn't happen. But, I mean, that's what happens. They're not trying to give anybody an inch. So they go through all that, get the car running again, and we're going to see if we can go for it now. Here, they get the car running again. I'm pretty sure that Chelsea's car isn't probably exactly the way he wants it to be because they're just trying to hurry up and get it going. The advice that we actually told Chelsea was, you just got to get through the lap. You know, you have a huge advantage here. All you need to do is just get through this while drifting. So you can see here, the aggressiveness of Chelsea is far less than what you've seen in all the other battles. There is a distance here. This isn't going to really play a role because, again, Chelsea has a huge advantage because of what Kazuya did, which was hit him. At this point, Chelsea is just trying to get through this lap. I'm sure the car is not feeling the best. But now they got through this. I think this is when we used our 5 and made sure they got that car all dialed up. Now we get to go against Fredric Aasbo. Obviously, Chelsea's going to win this because, yeah, the advantage.
There it is. Chelsea DeNofa gets the win.
Now, going against Aasbo, I don't want to say it was a lot easier than anything else, but it was more so that we know how Aasbo is going to run. We know he's going to be consistent, so that allows us to kind of push a little bit harder. Maybe not as hard as he was with Deane, but the plan was, Chelsea, I just need you to run a really great lead line and allow me to try to find what Aasbo does that we can use as an advantage. And if you guys have been seeing the common theme, Outer Zone 1 has pretty much been the spot that's been helping Chelsea out. Now, you can see already right here, I know this is just about when it starts, but Chelsea's already about to ride that high line in outside Zone 1. You can see Aasbo is already a little bit low, and this is what's going to really give the advantage here. You can already see the car isn't at angle. He's trying to let the car fall back just a little bit so he can maybe get to a higher line and then light off again, but Chelsea already has momentum, everything on his side, riding the rails. Now, credit to Aasbo, he's an amazing driver, and he was able to massage his car back to where he needed it to be, so this is a lot better, but there's still some distance here.
He starts out low, but works his way, massage way up top. DeNofa dropping down from the back.
Now, key point, look at the angle that Chelsea has here. Look at the angle that Aasbo has here. Obviously, Aasbo is doing this to try to catch up and get right into the pocket. But at the same time, he doesn't want to do it too much because the transition's about to happen. If he's too close, he's going to hit him. So he's a really good driver. He already sees that, and he's already trying to anticipate where he's going to make his move. Now you can see right there, fantastic job cutting through the smoke. I think what Aasbo is doing and succeeded to do is what Kazuya was trying to do. You can see Aasbo gets right into the pocket there. This is where things start to get a little worrisome because once Aasbo gets cleared of inner clip 2 and he's on power, that's when he starts to become a real threat. You can see he really closes the gap. A little bit of a tap. So at this point, you know, I'm on the radio, and the only kink that we can see is outside Zone 1. So I told Chelsea, like, hey, man, you know, the grand scope of things is you're going to have to make sure you put down an amazing chase. But at the same time, one thing that you need to be sure of is to make sure you fill out outside Zone 1 in the process of it all. If you don't do that, the chances are we may be going into one more time or something like that.
Ready to go. 1, 2, 3.
All right, we're going to see the chase here. Now, Aasbo's doing a really good job getting to a high line. Chelsea, I'm pretty sure at this point is when he's going to lunge into position to get a little bit closer. lunges right into position. Now you can see here, this is very different from what we saw from Aasbo. Chelsea is almost on that same exact line. The proximity's there, the angle's there. He has momentum, almost is equal to Aasbo, I believe, and the power to ride around here.
Chelsea DeNofa gets into formation, comes into that pocket. Look.
Gets really close here. I was actually kind of worried when I saw this because I was like, oh, God, here we go. Chelsea about to be Chelsea.
Look at that. Pizza delivery right there on the door. Into that.
Now, this was a key point also as well because he hit inner clip 1. Now, I'll be honest, in the moment, I didn't see that. What I saw was outer zone 1. And I was like, that's the biggest error. Obviously, this was another thing that kind of, I believe, you know, I'm not for sure, but I believe that played a role, is that Aasbo got inner clip 1. You can see Chelsea's already set himself up here to dive.
Fredric Aasbo.
Gets right into the pocket there. Just as good as Aasbo. That's really good. Gets right into that pocket. Clears inner clip 2. Chelsea does that as well too.
Drops into formation. Into that last.
Now at this point we do see a separation here. And I was a little bit worried when I was seeing this as well too because, you know, obviously you don't want to leave it into the hands of the judges. But what I believe, obviously just my opinion, is the degree of difficulty of being able to match the angle, the speed, the momentum, as you see here in outside zone 1, is a lot harder to achieve, I think, than when Aasbo was getting close to Chelsea in outside zone 2. I think when you take the error that you have from Aasbo from outside zone 1, hitting inner clip 1, it just tiered things over to Chelsea's side, and I think, you know, eventually that's how we ultimately got the win in this battle. It was very hard fought. There wasn't a lot of space there. You can see both compared here. You can see Chelsea's just doing a really good job keeping the proximity. See that inner clip was taken. I think Chelsea did a good job getting to that pocket. Obviously, the separation happens here as well, too. But I think when you take everything in consideration, Chelsea just came out on top because Aasbo just left a couple more things for us to take advantage on. And ultimately, it meant Chelsea took the win. And there you have it. The breakdown of the top 16 and Chelsea taking it all the way to the #1 podium.